just seem so different. What caused this awesome change?
Hey y'all, it's Mercy here with Anthony Davis of Tribute Quartet.
What's your name?
Mercy.
Really? Oh. Learn something new every day. I'm kidding. Okay, go.
Can you tell?
This is going to be a great interview.
Can you tell us?
Not because of me.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
You want to know about me? What? I thought I was interviewing you. You're interviewing me. No. What do you want to know? On January the 6th, 1983, I was born. I don't remember a whole lot after that until several years later. Okay, so a little about me. I am originally from Dyersburg, Tennessee. Lived there all my life. And let's come more recent. 6 years ago, almost 6 years ago, January would be 6 years ago, that I joined Tribute Quartet. And I tell you, it's been an absolute blast. I love the guys that I sing with. I love the music that I sing and the message that it holds. And let's see, that would have been about somewhere along that time since I met you all. Gosh, 6 years ago, you could have only been like 4 feet tall. You're only about 5.5 now. Is that enough? Is that little enough? Or is that too much? Or is there something else specific you want to know?
No.
Not really?
When did you get saved?
Saved? From what? Oh, you mean saves. Like, save. Oh. Told you this is going to be good. I was 12 years old. I grew up in a little country church out in the middle of nothing, pretty much. And on a Wednesday night, I walked the aisle after being white-knuckled, so many of us do, and was saved, 12 years old.
What sparked your interest in singing Southern gospel music?
Let's see. Well, that particular church that I was saved in, I grew up Church of Christ, so we didn't have musical instruments. There was never, sort of like what a lot of Baptist churches call special music or anything like that. That wasn't anything like what I grew up in. And so, somewhere in high school, maybe my junior or senior year, I heard a Gold City CD. I had passed one evening of Gaither Homecoming on TV. They were doing, an advertisement for that. So I stopped just briefly, and Gold City. Now the lineup was Tim Riley, Jay Perrick. Boy, what a great idea! All the lights just came on. See? Kidneys. All right. So Jay and Jonathan Wilburn and Mark Trammell and Tim Riley. And I was amazed by this music. I just thought, my goodness, what are these people doing? They're singing so great. And so the only thing I'd ever wanted to do with my whole life was be a cop. And at that time, I was all of my high school, every college, everything was planned out to be a police officer, which I continued that route. But all the while, I discovered what Southern gospel music was, and then I just consumed it. But instead of coming from Gold City and that whole era, I went backwards. The Statesmen, the Blackwood Brothers, the Imperials, all of those older type groups, the Seagos and the Lefevres, all of those folks. And then sort of just came, in order to know where you are, you need to know where you came from. And so that's kind of what I did. I went backwards with the history of things and learned everything that I could about all of the previous groups prior to that particular era of Gold City. And then I sort of just loved Gold City. Everybody in my house, my mom will tell you, they didn't even know who Gold City was and didn't really even care to hear them probably. And they heard them every day, because as soon as I got home from school, it was homework. And then we, do you know what cassettes are? You do, okay. Because the Okay, good. That makes me really feel old. The little things with wheels in it. So we had cassettes, and I just consumed the music until I would go to bed. Does that answer your question? What was the question actually? What started my interest? That's what sparked my interest. Gold City on my TV one Saturday evening.
What is your favorite Bible verse and why?
Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans that I have for you. And what a reassuring thought, because in the world that we have around us now, with so much crime and honestly just hatred and elections and all of those kinds of things, it's reassuring to have a promise from the Word of God that says, I know the plans that I have for you, and they are plans to prosper and to help you be successful and to grow and to be happy, and not plans to harm or hurt or misguide or break your heart in any way, And who better to give you that promise than the man that created everything around us and the God that we all love, and He loves us so much. So Jeremiah 29.
What's the best Gary scare you've done?
There are so many. Okay, so most of the Gary scares, they're difficult to get by yourself, because I can't film them and without him realizing what's going on, because he's kind of getting a little keen to it all. And so a lot of them are the ones that Riley helps me with, and probably the best one so far is just a few weeks ago we were at the Steve Hurst School of Music that takes place, let me do a little commercial for that real quick too. Steve Hurst School of Music, if you're interested in singing, if you play piano, if you write songs, any of that stuff, check it out, SteveHurstSchoolOfMusic.com. So we were at Steve's, and our night to perform that Thursday evening, Riley bought this great big air horn, like the safety emergency boat horns, if you put in your boat and all that stuff. So he comes out, and how Gary didn't see it, I don't know, because it's great big and tall. And Gary turned, and Riley laid on that air horn. And Gary is a flapper. Like when he gets scared, he doesn't. Most of the time, he doesn't scream or he won't say anything. In fact, he starts breathing in air rather quickly, and he flaps his wings. He's not that he has wings. He just but he'll and until that's all over with. And so we scared him. And then he hands the air horn to me, take this away. And I was like, Gary, it's okay. So he walks, so he comes over to me, and I straighten his tie. I was like, are you okay? He fixed his hair, and you all right? You good? And he said, take that thing. And I said, okay. So Steve Hurst comes out, and I thought Steve was coming to take the horn off stage. Steve comes out and takes the horn and walks right behind Gary and blows it again. Off he goes again into his little spell. But that's probably the best one, and that was in front of the most people, because usually it's just us, but we get him all the time. I mean, it's easy to do. In fact, you could probably video one this week if you'll just catch him coming around the corner or something, or if he's looking this way, just walk up and stand beside him. He'll turn and he'll jump. I promise he will. It's easy. You all should do it too.
How did you get started with tribute?
I ask myself that every day. How did I get started with you? Well, I touched on that a little earlier. Actually, I was a police officer. As many of you probably know, I was a police officer for a lot of years. I did realize that dream, by the way, of wanting to be a police officer. I did that for 10 years full-time. I was a canine officer for the last 6. The last 7 of those 10 years, I traveled with a part-time group. And I kind of got out of that and just straight into law enforcement, just to be a police officer again, because honestly I was running myself ragged. We traveled about 130 and 150 dates a year, so almost a full amount of time on top of working full-time as a police officer with canine call-outs early in the morning, 2 in the morning, another officer needs a dog or whatever, and then court and overtime and special events and football games and all those kinds of things. I was just literally going all the time. And so I ended my term with those guys for that amount of time that and for about 2 months I was just working in law enforcement. And Steve Hurst, again, Steve called and said, "Hey, would you, are you singing any?" I said, "Man, yeah, I sing all the time." He said, "Well, I didn't know you was with another group already." I said, "I'm not." He said, "Well, you said you sing all the time." I said, "I do. I sing in the shower, I sing in the car, I sing on the lawnmower, I sing all the time." He said, I need somebody to fill in with a group. Would you be interested?" Well, again, thinking I was just in law enforcement, I said, "As long as it's temporary. I don't want to, just as long as it's temporary." He said, "Well, they just need somebody to fill in. It may be a week, it may be a month, but if you wouldn't mind, help them as much as you can. If there's a weekend you can't, let them know and they'll try to find somebody else." I was okay, that's fine. "What's the group?" He said, "Tribute Quartet." He said, "Do you know any of their music? Their single out right now is I've Been Blessed." And I thought, I've been blessed, oh, I've been blessed. "Yeah, I know it." That's all I knew of the whole song. I said, "Yeah, I know it. I've heard it." He said, "Well, Gary will call you and he'll send you the rest of the music and you'll have some time to learn it and it'll be good." That's Steve said. It'll be good. It'll be good. It'll be good. That's what he said. So Gary, that was on a Sunday night, January the 1st. And then Gary called me on Wednesday and said, "Hey, I'm Gary, I'm Anthony, and you're going to help us fill in." I said, "Yeah, I'd be honored to do it." And that was on Wednesday afternoon. He sent me the songs, 37 songs, 37 songs on Wednesday. And he said, "Well, I've got some songs I need you to learn." I said, "Well, that's fine, send them to me." 37 songs he sends me and says, "These are the ones that, at any time we could just do in a concert right now." And I have thousands of songs up here. I look pretty dumb, but I'm smarter than I look. And he said, "You'll have some time to learn them." I said, "Well, how fast do you need, do you need me?" He said, "Friday." I said, "Which Friday?" He said, "This one." That's like a day and a half away, and I have to work. "Yeah. Okay. All right, I'll learn them." And I did. We sang that weekend. I missed one phrase in one song, and that was 5.5 years ago, a little over. January coming up will be 6 years, and I'm still waiting on them to hire somebody to fill in, because I'm only here temporarily. As soon as they hire somebody, I'm out of here. Not and all, I'm gone.
What is one of your favorite memories with tribute?
Favorite memory. What about most memorable memory? How about that? Will that work? Can we change the question a little bit? 7 days later, after I officially joined Tribute, we were in Texarkana, Arkansas, or Texas, was where we were headed to. We were going down to Monday, Texas to do a date, and we had some bus trouble and we got delayed, so we didn't make it to Monday, but we had come through Texarkana, and our date the next day was in Texarkana. So, well, what are we going to do? That's why. Go back to Texarkana, maybe we can catch a movie or, go out to eat or whatever. So we turn and we come back, and about 4 o'clock that afternoon, the bus caught on fire. 35-foot high flames. The fire obviously knocked out the front windows, and there were 3.5-foot flames rolling out the front of the bus. It took them 5.5 hours to put out. Burned everything I owned, because there again, being a police officer, those guys were already living on the bus pretty much, because that's for 200 plus days a year. So why would you take everything and put it on the bus and then take it back off? So most of the time we just leave everything except, food or something like that. Well, I had taken all of my clothes for the next 2 weekends. I had court cases as a police officer, and I was going to have to fly out to meet them. So rather than me having to deal with luggage, I just brought it all on the bus and thought I'll just wear what I have on at the airport, get through security quick. So not only did I lose all of my dress clothes, all of my suits and shoes and all of those things, I also lost almost all of my personal, casual clothes, everyday clothes, because they were all stockpiled on the bus as well. And of course, the guys also lost a great deal of their clothing and suits. I mean, it was a total loss. But that was probably the most memorable thing. The initiation process for the next bass singer after they finally hire him is tough. And I would encourage you to fireproof your clothes. It was fire this time. It may be water next time. I don't know. But it's tough to get into this group. Yeah, talk about through the flame and flood.
Do you play any musical instruments?
Do I play any? I can't even play the radio without getting static. That's a lie. I played in high school, junior high and high school. I played a trumpet in the marching band. Well, in concert band, marching band, jazz band, pep band. I did it all. But I sat out of my 6 years of school that I played. I sat first chair trumpet, which is the lead part, and in the trumpet line for a good amount of that time. So yeah, I haven't played in years, but I have the head knowledge. I don't know that I still could, not more than a minute or two, but I was full of hot air enough that I could play.
Can you share an interesting or funny story from your time as a police officer?
A funny story as a cop? Well, I do have lots of funny stories. I'm a small fella. I know you really probably couldn't tell that with this suit that I'm wearing, but I really only weigh about 106 pounds soaking wet, maybe a little more than that since joining tribute. But we had a guy that ran from us one day, and I worked, all of the cops that worked my shift were great big, they worked out and all that. I'm allergic to exercise. I swell up and turn red and stuff. And so it's okay to laugh. You can laugh. So anyway, so we're chasing this guy down, and they're used to just having to tackle him or whatever because they're big enough to do that. Well, being so aerodynamic, I was the first one, to catch up with the fella. And so I've got these 3 or 4 big burly cops running behind me. They've all got body cams and their car cameras are on, because he had run in a particular direction that we could see. And all of a sudden, you got all these cops running after this guy, and then you see me come from the other direction, and I just football tackle him down to the ground, and out of nowhere. And so all the other guys catch up, and we get him in handcuffs and all that. So we go back and watch the video from the car, and all of the guys are like, I thought I had him. And then here comes Little Sprout over here. He just runs in and grabs. And it's funny because all of the guy's body, his entire body, shifts directions. He's running and I catch him, and everything just goes one way, and he hits the ground. So anyway, that's a somewhat funny story. It was funny to me because I thought, well, here I've showed all these big fellas up, It's not size. I'm a little fella, but dynamite comes in small packages.
Do you have any hobbies or things you like to do in your free time?
Well, I like to sing, and sing. I do a lot of singing. That's about it. I still enjoy. For you NRA folks out there, I still have my guns, and I do like to shoot. I still do a few days as I can at the police department. I have a lot of certifications, a lot of things that I was not only certified in, but also certified to teach. And so a lot of those things are dependent on my regular activity in a police department somewhere. And so I have a department here locally that allows me to come in when I'm available. They don't put me on a set schedule, and so their chief has been very kind. He is an absolutely fantastic man to work with and to work for. And so they've been very good to me at the police department there. I appreciate the guys that I work with, and they've always been good to cater to what I need as far as, to be able to keep my certifications up. So I still do that some, and the other usual stuff, hunting, fishing, cars, all that kind of stuff that guys like, I guess. There's just not a whole lot of free time in the schedule that we keep that allows us to do a whole lot, But I enjoy just being out, most days people say, well, vacation's coming up. What are you going to do? I'm going to go home. Well, I mean, where are you going to go? I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm going home. But it's vacation. You're right. Don't you want to go somewhere? No. I want to go home. I want to see my bed. I want to sleep in my sheets. I don't want to go somewhere. I go somewhere all the time. So, most of the people say, well, it must be nice traveling to all those places and seeing all those things. Well, if you can see them from a bus window at 62 miles an hour, it's not bad. But I enjoy what I do. All of us do. It's tiring, but I think the biggest thing is that you grow weary in the work and not weary of the work. I mean, any of us can complain about a day that we're extremely tired, or say that we enjoy, obviously we do enjoy our time home. Anybody else would also. It doesn't make us any different. But the calling that's on us is a responsibility that requires a lot of our time. And so to just honestly to just go home and just kind of be there is pretty much a hobby for what we do anymore. So hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you for doing this.
You're very welcome. Thank you for asking me.
Finally got something that I can feel, and that's how I know that my God is real.
Thank you,
Lord, for saving my soul.
thank you.
Lord, for making me whole.